They are being starved. They are thirsty, only given 1 cup of water per day, are denied bathroom privileges, are denied medical attention. People in ICE concentration camps are losing their lives. And don't even think about saying baffle, fuck around and find out to these people in ICE detention centers. It is a shame that members of the Black community started the trend, and so many other people followed. This is an updated voting poll. Updated. Brown people voted for Kamala Harris more, but you fall for the colonizers' divisive tactics, the inaccurate voting polls, the initial propaganda. It is immature and immoral to be centering that type of behavior in response to a community that is being mass deported, imprisoned in concentration camps, and tossed out of the country to who knows where without any rights or contact to any lawyer or family. When we should be focused on solidarity, and this has to stop immediately. Especially those of you who claim to be activists perpetuating this FAFOBS nonsense.
You know, I've seen Latinos holding Trump flags. I've seen Black people talking bad about Latinos, calling them wetbacks, and go back on Trump. I can't understand how Black people, not every Black person, could say something like that. When it was George Floyd, there was hella Latinos helping out. When it was Ronnie King, there was hella Latinos there. But you know what? There is some Latinos that are racist against Black people too. I'm always going to keep it real. But haven't you noticed that right now, those fucking Latinos that are like Trump, those motherfuckers are illegal too. Then Trump's talking about, yeah, they got to come in the right way. His wife ain't even from here. You know, it just, I can't believe in 2025, we're still going through this. In 1933, they were deporting citizens from the United States back to Mexico. You know, and like I keep saying, Black folks keep calling them wetbacks. And let me tell you something what Hispanics do. They'll build houses. And somebody say, oh, they don't build houses that's good as anymore. Shit. Well, the white folks always give them cheap material so that they do what they could work with. You know? So I don't see Black people really working in construction. I don't see them picking on the fields. I don't see them selling flowers. I don't see them with the little ice cream truck. They don't do none of that. What? You gonna, Black people for real? Y'all gonna go do that work? I ain't gonna go do that work. So stop talking shit about Hispanics and Hispanics too. Stop talking shit about Black people. That's why they always divide and conquer. Because we're stupid and we listen. Yeah, Mr. Trump. They're all punks. Latinos and Black people. The ones that act stupid against each other. Not all Blacks and not all Latinos. But you know what? I'm tired of hearing this bullshit between all of us, Blacks and Latinos. That's how stupid y'all are.
Where are the Black people when we need them with their help?
What's going on, YouTube? What's going on the Shoulders of Giants family? It's Saturday. I'm back. Welcome back to the channel. Last week, I took a trip to Glendon, South Carolina for the country style cook-off. Me and my lady, we took a trip to the country style cook-off. We had a great time. You know, I left you with content last week, but I had to make sure I get back, give you something live, because on these live Saturdays, it's Negro News. We got to get into it. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the support. Thank you to everybody who's helping this channel grow, because we are doing our thing and we are going to reach our goal of 100,000 subscribers. We're going to reach our goal. So thank you to everybody who's tuning in. And you know, we're getting it in today. Last Saturday I was traveling. This Saturday we're getting it in. So two main things that we're going to get into today. Two main things. The first is dealing with the situation now between the Hispanic Latino community and the Black community. And is Black America obligated to help the illegal immigrants? Because there are a lot of them who are crying out and demanding that Black Americans come to their aid, because they've always been by our side. That's what some of them are exclaiming. We're going to get into that. And we're also going to get into a conversation I found as I was scrolling through YouTube. General Langley, the sellout Negro who was trying to snitch on Ibrahim Traore and trying to say that Traore was using the funds that he was collecting for his own personal gain rather than using the funds he was collecting to enrich the people of Burkina Faso. So we're going to get into a conversation about that. A Black journalist is questioning him about his comments about Traore. Then we're going to let Dr. Amos Wilson help us analyze the mindset of somebody like General Langley. But, you know, we got to start off with our conversation dealing with Black people in the Hispanic Latino community, because as you can see in the opening clips, you have people crying out saying, hey, black people, come help us. Black people, we need you. Black people, where are you? Black people, 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 right? They're calling out for black people because they're saying black people need to be out there protesting with them. Black people need to be on the front lines with them the same way they were on the front lines with us. And a lot of black people are like, hold up, stop, hold up, because that's not true. The actions of a few do not reflect the sentiments of a whole group. Because if we're being honest, we know that there's never been a great or smooth relationship between black people and the Hispanic Latino communities, right? Even within the Hispanic Latino communities, there has been tension between those who classify themselves as white and those who classify themselves as black. Racism exists within these Hispanic Latino communities, right? Remember, the origin of the transatlantic slave trade came from the Portuguese and the Spanish, right? The Portuguese and the Spanish, their culture, their colonization led to these Hispanic Latino communities. There's a statement that they use in that community that's basically saying, keep the race white or whiten the race or improve the race. And we're going to get into it because what you see on the screen now is a conversation that we're going to get into. We're going to react to this conversation, to give commentary, add to this conversation of three Latino people having this conversation about the racism and the relationship, the ill relationship between blacks and Hispanics. And I think it's time for a real conversation because I think a lot of us got a lot of things messed up when it comes to this conversation. Of course, you know, I said a lot. Dr. John Henry Clark told us that we have no friends, we have no allies. The only real friends and allies that we have are our own people or ourselves, right? Hispanic and Latino, first of all, is an ethnic description. The ethnic description that was given by colonizers, that was given by dominant societies, right? When it comes to racial classification, within the Hispanic and Latino community, we have to remember, Hispanic and Latino is not a race, it's an ethnicity. Their racial classification or the racial category that they place themselves in, if they're not my color and can't get away with it, they're going to classify themselves as white. And that's one of the things they're going to talk about in this conversation is how the racial classification is made up within Hispanic Latino communities, right? I'm not a part of the Hispanic Latino community, so I'm only going off what people within the community are telling me. And I've heard, especially Afro-Latino people, exclaiming for the last 15, 20 years of my life about the constant racism within the Hispanic Latino communities. I know the consistent conversations that we have about the Dominicans, the dark-skinned black Dominicans who are some are darker than me, who will tell you that they're not black. You know, speaking Spanish is a colonizer's language, just like me speaking English. I'm speaking a colonizer's language. I'm not speaking the language of my ancestors. My ancestors didn't come to America speaking English, just like the ancestors of the Hispanics wasn't here speaking Spanish, right? They were colonized. And they were colonized by the Spanish, and then the Spanish were romanticized, just like the Europeans were romanticized by black people in America, in the United States. The colonizers were romanticized, so they get to the statement that they have with improving the race or whitening the race because they're holding on to their Spanish roots. So going back to the question, is Black America obligated to help illegal immigrants? I say no. I say we're not obligated to help anyone. But why aren't we obligated? And that's what this conversation is going to help lead us to. So let's get into it. And y'all make sure, hold up before we get into the conversation. PC gonna kill me, so let me make sure I do it. You know what that finger mean? Hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share. Make sure you support this channel. You can hit the super like button, that super chat. There's all different ways to support this channel. You can become a member of this channel as well. All of that information is below. So make sure you check it all out. Hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button, jump in these comments. I want your thoughts. I want you to contribute to the conversation as well. What do you think? Is Black America obligated to help illegal immigrants? So we already have a couple comments. So let's talk about these comments real quick. Marie Boca says they wanted it because they're talking about the number of Hispanics who voted for Trump. We're going to get into that. No, we are not. And Complex Blackness is saying, no, we are not obligated to help illegal immigrants. Kenneth One America says, no, Black Americans and neither Black peoples worldwide are not obligated to help nobody else worldwide at all whatsoever. I agree with you, my brother. I agree with you. Sweet J says, I agree. No, we are not obligated. Kai says, my great-grandfather was a conquistador. Hey, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that one. I don't know. I don't know. Fox says, no, we are not obligated. I agree. We are not obligated to help anyone but ourselves. But why aren't we obligated? So let's get into it.
Black community is mad because we're asking for their help. Instead of responding in a good way, they're really bashing us, bashing Mexicans and saying,
I do have something to say first. This is my humble opinion. I think where we go wrong is that we ask for their help, personally. And let me elaborate. I don't think that we as brown people should be asking another race of people to help us. I think if another race of people want to help voluntarily, then that's that.
I agree. Not only asking, and I guess I'll take it a step further, what I'm trying to say. I don't feel like they're asking for help. I feel like they're demanding our help. They're demanding that we pick up their fight. They're demanding that their issue become our issue. It's more of a demand than anything. And I think that is one of the greatest problems or issues that we're having. It's a demand based off of trying to use guilt to say, hey, you owe us this, and you owe us this because of how we've helped you in the past. And that is one of the reasons why we're getting off on the wrong foot. Also, Black people in America are saying, hold up. So not only are you going to demand that we help you, you're going to demand that we help you, and you just going to ignore the friction that we have between each other, because the Black and Brown alliance is not real. There's no real alliance between Black and Brown people. There's no real BIPOC community in large. There may be a number of people who are brought into the ideologies, but in large, there is no Black and Brown solidarity. There's no BIPOC community. And how do we know this? Because when Black people are in trouble in mass, other groups do not show up. We're not talking about segments or handfuls of other groups. We're talking about in mass, because when Black people show up to help, we show up in mass. You got to remember that. And this conversation is coming from the Ricardo Ignacio podcast. And I'll put a link. I'm gonna put a link to it below in the description. But the Ricardo Ignacio podcast. Let's go.
I'm gonna give you a great example. I've had a Black woman, Latina but Black, right, who is more involved in the Latino community than the Black community, as a Black woman but from Latin America. So much so that before Donald Trump was elected, she reached out to me and said, Ricardo, you have a lot of Black people that listen to you. Can you please talk to them to help us Latinos? She's Black. She's telling a Mexican guy, can you please talk to your overwhelming black audience to help us Latinos. I'm like, you're black. But you see, this is how these kind of terminologies have kind of ruined us a little bit. That in the case of like black Latinos, if you will, they're so busy, and I mean this with all due respect to the black Latinos, they're so busy trying to be Latinos that they forget about black people.
They're so busy trying to fit into the dominant society that they're forgetting that they're also black. So this is a Mexican man talking about having a conversation with an Afro-Latino woman before the re-election of Trump, asking the Afro-Latino woman is asking the Mexican man how to get black people more involved, because she's not even conscious of her blackness. She's only conscious of seeking validation and inclusion from the dominant society, and their dominant society would be the Spaniards. Ours is the you know, the British and the Europeans who come from the British over there, and theirs would be the Spanish. Fitting into the dominant society, making sure that they are helping to lighten the race up. Shalom to you, my brother Damon Reeves. You know I always appreciate your support. I always appreciate you tuning in, and you always contribute greatly to the conversation. Thank you, Mr. Damon Reeves. You are a real one. I appreciate you. There she go. There she go. What up, Tiffany? That's my lady. Tell them about our country style trip. We need obligated. Yeah, I know what you mean. We need to be obligated to help ourselves. I know what you mean. Our obligation is to ourselves, not to anybody else, right? But think about the psychology behind what was just said. An Afro-Latino woman is asking a Mexican man, how can he help her reach the black community better? Because she has no connection to her own community, because she wants to be more connected with the dominant society of her culture. The colonizers. That's not unity. That's not unity. You're not a unifying group of people when you want to suppress and erase the darker people of the darker versions of your people, the darker skinned people of your culture. When you want them erased, you can't talk about solidarity. You can't on one end want these people to not exist, and on the other hand tell these people, hey, you are obligated to help us in our fight against the person that the majority of our own people voted for. And that's the thing to me about the Latino Hispanic community. Like, were y'all not listening when Trump was talking? Like, we talked about it extensively on this channel. Were y'all not listening when I'm going to deport all of the illegal immigrants. They're gone. They can't be here anymore. I don't want them there. They have to go. So y'all didn't hear that. That's the part y'all didn't hear. Y'all didn't understand that he was saying that if he becomes president, that he was going to deport the illegal immigrants. Y'all didn't understand that. Okay, whatever. We don't believe you. You need more people. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Shout out to everybody in here. Make sure you hit that like button.
And they're black. From my observation, to the point where a black woman is asking me, and she's got a large following, but she has been using her following to be involved in the Latino community.
What am I saying? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You using an Afro-Latino woman who's concerned about what's going on in the black community, but has always used her platform as a black person for validation from the Latino community, and not even thinking about the black community until you start to feel pity for the black community, until things start happening to you personally. And see, that's the thing about us black people, right? No matter your background, and I understand the diaspora wars that are going on right now. I understand the diaspora wars, but that's a part of the damn problem. We can't get past the differences. We understand that we have differences, but damn it, when we're going to be able to get past them? I am not a fan of the diaspora wars. If you don't know, I'm not a fan of the diaspora wars. I'm not a fan of black people not getting along, whether it's domestically or even globally. I'm not a fan of that. But it's a great explanation of the mindset of so many black people who are not necessarily Black American, foundational Black Americans, because their mindsets have been warped as well. We've all been colonized, and we act like others haven't. We've all been colonized. That's why we are what we are. But that doesn't mean that we have that commonality with the Hispanic community, because remember, they are colonizers as well. And they identify with their whiteness. Why do you think we use the term Afro-Latino? No, think about it. I'm just saying, think about it. Why are we using the term Afro-Latino? Because if you're not Afro-Latino, then you're white Latino. Unless you're Asian Latino. Because we're talking about racial categories now. Let's not act like we don't understand. And if you don't understand the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality, you got to start from the beginning. You got to start from the beginning. What you're saying, he says, he literally told them to their faces, I don't care about you. I just want your votes. What are we to do with that? We voted for Trump for the same reasons as whites, in my opinion. I get that, but the whole of what he said, because it's just, I guess you all are going to learn the hard way, like we had to learn the hard way, about voting for people and getting nothing for your votes, and voting for people who don't have your overall best interest. Because as black people in America, we had to learn the hard way, because we continue, and we still continue to vote for people who do nothing for us, for people who don't help improve our situations. But he was explicit in what he was saying. He was very explicit. I'm going to deport the illegals. And we all know who the illegals were. So I get it. You voted for Trump because you had some gains, but let's not act like losses didn't come with it. Learn from the black community.